We want to give you an overview this afternoon on what individuals with disabilities and families in our state want in terms of post-secondary services, then provide you with some of the key areas of supports and services in that area, and finally provide resources for follow-up for you. But again, because it's a Friday afternoon, we thought we could do nothing better than start with a short video that introduces you to post-secondary programs in Tennessee. The amazing thing to us and why we love the work we do is that if we had been sitting here 5 years ago, this video would not have existed because we didn't have any of these programs in this state.
When you guys were in high school, what did you want to do after graduation?
I thought I would always like to go to college.
I want to go to college too.
I like to go to college too.
What do you think is the best thing about college?
I get to learn about new people and just really get to make new friends.
Yeah, we learn in the class, we learn by ourselves.
Until 5 years ago, these students did not have college opportunities, but now they do.
Hi, my name is Haley, and I've been in college for 1 semester. I see myself as a hard-working college student, and I also like to have fun.
I would definitely advise high school students to go to college because college will open up your mind in a variety of different ways. And going through college will open up better career opportunities for you.
William Thomas McMillan, Will McMillan for short. High school was it was fun, but now being in college is more exciting because I get more of a freedom.
I wanted to have a college experience like my older brother because when I went to Parents Weekend with my parents at my brother's college, I saw that he was in a frat and all his friends and all that stuff and how he enjoyed it. And plus I wanted to go to Vanderbilt. In our self-awareness class, we learned about, how to write a bill, how to, budget your money.
We get to learn how to control our body and our health. Career Tech, we get to learn about going on the internet and finding facts.
The one class I did take, Introduction to Stars and Galaxies. I learned about the different effects of stars, and I like that you learn a lot of things that you previously did not think before.
Oh, it's because
if it does light up and it does let electricity move through it, then what do we call it?
It's a demo.
Awesome, a conductor, right. So copper is a conductor.
Our mentors, also known as our bachelors, they're fun. They can help us with our homework. They have lunch with us.
My mentor helps me with daily planning, tutoring, exercising, and they're my friend too.
So this year I got to make a CD with one of my mentors, and that was a lot of fun.
Through my workout mentors, I've learned a variety of different workouts. I even learned how to do yoga, although I probably won't be pursuing that. It's not fun. Nope.
I think that's one of the best things about internships is that they help you grow on the inside.
89. I got 89.
You feel more alive when you do things for people that really need your help in the athletics or in many things.
Well, my internship is Susan Gray. It's a school for kids. What I do there, I laminate, I do laundry, I do the dishes, I get the mail, I clean the break room and the rainbow room and the conference room.
I learned shelving books at the Divinity Library. I love the people that I worked with. I thought that that my main job that I wanted to accomplish was become a radio broadcaster. But through this experience in college, I've realized that there's a lot more jobs out there that I would actually like. Like, I wouldn't mind being a bookshelver.
Hey man, how are you? Good to see you guys. Whatever internship you have, they really need help, and we're there to help no matter what.
Our students are having the confidence to make their own decisions and to problem solve on their own, and to make decisions, make mistakes, and to learn that it's okay.
I think I was a little nervous about starting college because it was new, and I, was a little shy, and I really didn't know how to ask for help. But now, I feel confident, and I feel like I belong.
The first time I came here, I didn't know where to go. This was a very big campus, and there was a lot of people around, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to go for my Vanderbilt class. And it was really scary. Now I know where to go. Now I'm comfortable where I'm going.
Did we explain about the teachers and professors here? They want you to grow and succeed in life. And I think that's what really helped me.
The most exciting part of post-secondary education is increasing the quality of life that our students are going to have. They see their place in the world. They're excited about the world. They're asking for more, and they're expecting it to happen.
I think after I get through college, I'll be able to put on my resume that, hey, I've done this, and so I'd like to have a chance to get this job.
Today is your day, and you gotta be responsible enough to know who you are and to be in college, because back then your parents, they got to know what they wanted to do, and now we're going to live the same dream. That's it.
Disclosure that Will McMillan does happen to be kin to me. He is my son. And so I'm so happy to be with a group of pediatricians and those associated with them, because I will tell you, along our journey, Will's 27 now, our pediatrician was such a partner in helping us along the way, because things really are changing for people with disabilities and living in the community, and some of my best information I got from my pediatrician. So we wanted to share with you what we're hearing from families across Tennessee. And in one of our projects at the Kennedy Center, we surveyed 2,000 families across the state. 1,000 of those had family members with a disability 22 and older, and another 1,000 had family members 21 and under. And I'm going to share just a little bit about what we heard from those families with those from birth on up to 21, because you really can see that things are changing. We hear more and more about employment opportunities for people with disabilities, and we thought it was very interesting that what families are interested in may be just a little bit different than they are for their other sons and daughters, so that 93% said that the most important thing was that their son or daughter have a job that brings personal satisfaction. And 91% was developing friendships and having opportunities to interact with other people. You know, as young people with disabilities get older, in some cases, because of the limitations of transportation and other things, making those social connections can become harder. So there still is the interest in advancement and the high number of working hours per week, but it's probably just a little bit different than you would see in a typical population. So what is it that those parents are concerned about? They're concerned about social and communication skills. They're concerned about opportunities for on-the-job support. So for some, it may be great if you do get training in high school and you have vocational rehabilitation supports. And if you're lucky enough, you may receive some of the waiver services, but if you don't, if you're one of those families on the waiting list, when vocational rehabilitation goes away, who can provide those supports? 61% were concerned about motivation to work. 55% were concerned about the shift, but it really was those kind of social and communication skills and supports they were concerned about. So if we know that parents and young people with disabilities are interested in their sons and daughters working, we took a look at, are they getting the same kinds of experiences that we are? So how many of you had a job when you were a teenager, either paid or unpaid? My guess is that, by a show of hands, almost everyone in this room. It's concerning to us, and I think it's where we can begin to make changes, either by you maybe suggesting or asking about this in that annual checkup, by transition teachers and others, asking about if only 7% of those we talked to, their son or daughter had unpaid after-school work, 12% paid after-school work, only 6% unpaid summer jobs, or only 8% had participated in an internship or apprenticeship. We all need to be helping change that. We were pleased to know, at least at home, there were some more normal expectations. I will tell you that my husband and I have 3 children. Our son with Down syndrome is the middle child, and we had our own advisory board from his siblings. So we better make sure we expected just as much, and they would be the first to point out if Will didn't have to either load the dishwasher or do the clothes or whatever. So we had lots of advice on that. So we were happy to see that 85% are getting their young person to help with chores at the home. And we realized, depending on the disability and range, it may look different than some of the other siblings, but it's still so important for them to do. Only 52% help manage some of his or her own money. And I think this is, we want to see this figure change. Only 29% had talked to their son or daughter about future career goals. So, you know, almost all of us, again, probably in kindergarten started talking about, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a scientist, or I want to work at a university. We really need that conversation happening much more broadly with all young children. We were excited. We've seen a change in these numbers even over the past 5 years. So before we started Next Steps and the other programs in this state, we did surveys to see if people with sons and daughters with disabilities, and particularly intellectual and developmental disabilities, were thinking about college or some kind of post-secondary education. It wasn't even on the radar screen for some. But in this most recent survey, more than half were thinking about 2-year community college, a little less than half thinking about 4-year college. 55% thinking about vocational or technical school, and then 47% considering a post-secondary program. We now have 5 in this state. There, in addition to the program at Vanderbilt, there is a program on the campus of the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, the Futures program. There's another program here in Nashville at Lipscomb University, the Ideal program. There's a program at University of Memphis, Tiger Life, and the newest program in this state will be beginning this fall in Jackson, Tennessee at Union University. It's EDGE, right? We all have to have an acronym, of course. In addition to that post-secondary education, there's a real shift in where people with disabilities see themselves, where their families see themselves living in the community. So it's no longer Clover Bottom or Arlington now that that's closed, or Green Valley or other more institutional type setting. Families see their sons or daughters living in a group home or living with 1 or 2 other people, or maybe even considering living independently with supports. We also ask, what kinds of resources do you need? There are lots and lots of resources out there. I think finding the best resources that we know are accessible to families, understandable, is important. And so that's why we asked families what they wanted. And these were the top numbers: strong transition planning, so to really understand both on the educational level and also supports, either through health care or waivers or other information, partnering with families to make that transition, teaching skills and attitudes that lead to employment, and also helping to connect my son or daughter with a good job in the community. Just as pediatricians can't be expected to know everything about all of these topics, we certainly don't know everything about a medical practice. So the reason we have the resources that are listed in this handout is, as you go back to your practices, if you're looking for information, we are happy to be a resource for you, whether that's electronic information or some print pieces you'd like to have in your office or referral numbers. That's one of the things that we love to do. So now I would like to turn things over to Tammy Day. You've already heard Tammy's background, but I'd like to introduce her very simply as, if she hadn't been in the leadership position she's in, we wouldn't have the program we have at Vanderbilt, and we certainly wouldn't have the 5 programs that we do in this state. So I'll turn things over to Tammy.
I'm happy to be here, and I really am. I didn't know there were that many of you behind me. There's a lot of people still here. And I'm so impressed for a Friday afternoon. So I think this statistic is just really important for us to look at. It's not a statistic necessarily, but the research being done on inclusive post-secondary education is very, very new. It's a pretty brand new frontier. So the research is just now starting on campuses all over the country. This was some that was done in 2011, and it showed that the only post-secondary transition goal that was a predictor of employment was the goal of students having a desire to go to college. And then for youth who participated in a post-secondary program, even if they were only there for 1 semester, look at the statistic, 73% higher weekly income than those who did not get to go. And I would just like to have you guys think for a second. Imagine yourselves sitting in high school with your peers, and every year you talk more and more and more about, so what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Well, you know, most everybody says, I'm going to go to college. And so the students that I work with, they also have that goal. But until just recently, that wasn't even on the radar for them. And now they are having these opportunities. So as Elise already laid out for you, these are the 5 programs that we have in our state. And so that means this fall we should have 115 students enrolled on college campuses across the state. That number is so exciting to me. We are so blessed that we have Think College, which is out of the University of Boston in Massachusetts. University of Massachusetts in Boston as our coordinating center. And if anyone is interested in learning more than you could ever imagine about this movement, planning, statistics, resources, the Think College website would be a wonderful place to go. You've already seen our video, but I'd like to now take you through what does a week with our students, what does it look like if they're on our campus, so you can kind of envision what that will be for them. I think you have handouts, right? So you can look at that as well. Okay. So let me see, what color is it on this slide? This sample schedule was started right here. That's how we begin building schedules, is we find out the university class that we're going to have them in. We do not have access to the entire university course catalog at this point. One day we might, but right now our students are offered about 40 classes, almost in all of the colleges at Vanderbilt, and they tell us their top 3 choices. The students currently are allowed to participate in 1 university class each semester. They are there to be a part of a rich learning environment and to encourage them to be lifelong learners. Each professor sends me their course syllabus, and then I changed it just as little as possible. So if they are a reader, we're going to ask them to read. If they can write papers, it's probably not going to be an 8-page, double-spaced with all the references, etc., but we're asking them to write. All the way down to the student that works with the tutor, and every week they create a PowerPoint slide on, this is what I learned in class this week. So we have a record for themselves and for the professor validating why they're there, and they're all very accountable. What we hear from the professors that have our students is, I sure wish all the Vanderbilt students came on time and prepared and as eager as our students are. They really are quite the role models, and I think people are very surprised at that. So once we have their university class in place, we then are able to schedule the 3 Next Steps classes that we offer our students every semester. These are classes that have a little bit of reverse inclusion going on, where we recruit university students that are going to get credit in their own classes for kind of volunteering to be classmates in our classes. And we're teaching skills of independence. Like you saw in the video, they mentioned independent living, career technology, and self-awareness classes. After those are placed, we then really get to the fun of it. If you ask our students, what do you enjoy most about your college experience? Surprise, surprise, it's their friendships that they build. And our peer mentors, we call them ambassadors, a play on word with commodores, and we build a circle of support. So the students interact with the same 8 to 10 people each week. And these ambassadors, we've had over 250 now. Most of them return and return and return. And they can either be lunch partners, exercise partners. Our students are required to exercise 3 hours a week. They can be daily planners, which are teaching executive functioning skills, following schedules, answering emails, keeping up with your journals. Our students journal 5 times a week, or they could be a tutor. So they build these rich, rich relationships. And so that's what all of those other things are on this schedule, except the 2 big spaces on this one. This individual had an internship at the Vanderbilt Post Office. So every semester they go and they have 4 hours a week the first year, and the second year it's 6 to 8 hours a week, a different internship every semester. And that's what our week looks like. On Fridays, we have cooking activities, and this year we added service projects, and let's see, they're probably not back yet. The students are currently at an urban garden helping plant at an urban garden. So this is a really mutually beneficial program to our whole university. One dean, when we were getting ready to grow Next Steps, I had the pleasure of meeting with every dean, and I walked into the engineering office, and the 2 deans of the College of Engineering met me with crossed arms, and they said, you know, we only teach high-level mathematics here. And how do you think they'll be able to access our courses? Well, within 30 minutes, we had identified 2 courses. Now, as of yet, nobody has seemed to have had an interest in that, but I think we could make it happen. But then one asked me the question, so how many students are you taking a year? And I said 8. And he said, so what type of an impact are you going to make with that? Well, that's a good question. And thank God I had someone with me. And the answer was, it's not just the students. It's everybody on campus that this is going to impact. And I can tell you that we are hearing comments from the students themselves, from the families, from the faculty, and those 275 ambassadors so far. Every single time we have ambassadors present for us, someone always says, Next Steps has been the single most defining part of my whole Vanderbilt career. They're changing majors or they're changing the focus of their majors. And stop and think about that. Think about having 4 years of intimate relationships with people with disabilities, and you're focusing on strengths and competence. So when you become an employer or a legislator or a teacher or an author, you have experiences and you're not going to be so afraid. And the doors are going to be flying open because these programs are growing all over the place. Okay, so the big story really is our employment outcomes. I want to tell you how we build these incredible outcomes. Our entire process is built on something called person-centered planning. I think some of you attended a session on that. We have 4 sessions of person-centered planning during their time with us. Some of you heard Carol Rabideau speak, and she luckily facilitates those meetings for us. From those meetings, we build and guide each student's individual program of learning. Then I told you about the internships. When they start their internship, they have their own personal job coach. And that person, we tell them, your goal is to work yourself out of a job. So we want them to fade and fade. They have career tech classes, and then I already mentioned we have the service projects. So once a month, they get to go into the community, they get to be a contributor, but imagine all of the self-discovery that they're doing. Can I picture myself working here? Do I like inside, outside? What do I like to do? So we have all of those rich things together. So we currently have an 86% employment rate with our alums. Now, it depends on what research you look at, but nationally, I've seen figures of between 17% to 26% nationally do adults with intellectual disabilities have paid work. It's really making a difference. You can't see this, I'm sure, but I wanted you to know that our students are not getting paid jobs in places that you customarily think of for people with intellectual disabilities. If they really wanted to work fast food, we'd make that happen, but they don't want to work there. They're not working in laundromats, and none of them are custodians at this point. But again, those are highly valuable jobs as well, and if that was someone's career goal, we'd see that they had those opportunities, and we would help them get placed in that. But they are at places like Barnes & Noble, they're at preschools, they're at the YMCA. One of our students is a research assistant at the Kennedy Center, and another one is getting hired. We have students that are, capable of doing more. They are getting to work at places like Creative Services, Best Buy, and so they're just doing a great job. And so that's Next Steps. So I hope that you will encourage your families and your young people that you work with to check into post-secondary education. On Tuesday, we had a delightful opportunity. We had a very wonderful teacher from Knowledge Academies, which is a charter school. He arranged with us to bring a group of 17 middle school students on our campus. They were here from 9:30 to 12:30, and our students were the tour guides. They showed them around, and he wrote a wonderful thank you, and he said, our students are buzzing all over campus. We had fake IDs made for them, so they looked like they had a Vanderbilt ID with their picture on it, and they're proudly showing them all around the school. and the emails and the phone calls we've had from the parents saying, thank you so much for giving them this opportunity. We would be delighted to have many, many more school trips making visits to have their young person on campus. So other than next steps, these are some things I'd like to share with you. While a student is still in high school, what are the job readiness opportunities that are available in many, if not all, but many of the high schools across our state? You folks all know that our state has transition services should be in place from age 16 to 22. So they should have opportunities to be developing these skills. Many schools now have school-based enterprises where the students might be helping to have a cookie shop that's open. When I was teaching in high school, we learned how to make ceramics, and then we sold those. There are banks inside schools. There are many opportunities for the school-based enterprises. When I was in school, and I think most of you out there are kind of like me, a little older, a little younger, it was called co-oping. Okay? It's called work-based learning now. Many, many, many schools have the opportunity for the students to do both. We had non-paid and paid work-based learning opportunities. And so please encourage your families and your young people to think about that. This is where it's almost like an internship. They're going and they're learning all these job skills, and they're just learning how to behave in a workplace. And then a lot of schools also have the community-based transition classes. So a student can graduate from high school with a special education diploma, if that's what they can earn, and then they can stay, and they can have transition services. And a lot of these students wind up working in the community. I think you know a lot about vocational rehabilitation services, so I'll walk through this really fast. Their goal is to support people with disabilities beginning after high school. They can offer employment exploration as well, job trials. They can offer training. For example, if someone wanted to apply to participate at the Tennessee Rehabilitation Center in Smyrna, Tennessee, and live there. And vocational rehabilitation also does support post-secondary education. This last year, we had a pilot with them, and they provided $4,000 a year to our current students to help them pay tuition. That's a lot of money. And I didn't include this in my other slide, but there are some financial assistance for families now. So please help us spread that word as well. They also support Project Search. And I think you guys have already heard about the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act. That is, the government is asking the Department of Education and Vocational Rehabilitation to really bump up these numbers and efforts and opportunities. Housing. So what else is out there? I know you're not all from Middle Tennessee, but it seems like everywhere I turn, families are talking about housing. Every time I run into parents, that's what they really want to talk about now. And I think there's a huge shift because so many parents are actually imagining my son or daughter is going to be able to live independently. And I think those are conversations that I hope you'll encourage them to have. For example, just common conversations. Where do you imagine yourself living? What skills do you think you're going to need to be living on your own? Would you like to live alone or with others? Just the same conversations they have with all of their other children that they have. There's a new grassroots entity in the Nashville area, and one of our current recent alums is actually living in an apartment on his own. He moved in on April 1, and he couldn't be more excited. So this website is provided for you at the end. And what I'd love to ask you to do when you're meeting with your young people is to ask them, so what are you doing outside of school? And I find that the students who really, really excel in the opportunities that we have at Next Steps are the students who are doing things besides just going to school. And I'm not an advocate that it has to only be things that aren't special, like Special Olympics or Best Buddies. I do believe that there's a really wonderful place for those. But I would also like for you to encourage the families to think about, well, but what are some of the extracurricular things happening in school that they do have an interest in? This is career exploration as well. And it's safe, and it's building friends. So do you want to sing in the choir? I know that when I was a high school teacher and a middle school teacher, I was usually able to get them into choir. I could usually get them into the drama things and opportunities. There's an opportunity there, so encourage them to have the courage to do that. In the communities, of course, there's church and scouting and other sports, and then I already mentioned the special opportunities. And I believe that is the end of what I wanted to say. We do have the resources listed. I know Elise and I really love connecting people to resources and would love to have you all come and visit. Next Steps does have open houses 3 or 4 times a year, so if you would like to come for that, that would be wonderful.